The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Leadership Podcast. And of course, it's another edition of The Big Issue. And of course, as usual, our in-house analysts are here to take you on the big issue of the day. By my left, we have Kunle Olasami.
You're welcome.
And of course, Chubuzo Kaibe is here once again.
Thank you very much.
You're all welcome to this program. And before we go on, let me just quickly apologize for that slight delay. It was due to certain technical hitches. Of course, we've been able to put it up now. And without taking much of your time, the big issue of the day is the PDP crisis, where Secondus has bounced back with another court order. Like a phoenix, the embattled national chairman of the People's Democratic Party bounced back when a high court in Kebbi issued an order of interim injunction, reinstating him back as PDP national chairman. And of course, Secondus got another life of his own when the Kebbi court quashed the order of a revised high court that restrained him from operating as national chairman of the party. And of course, the Kebbi court, headed by Justice Nusirat Umaru, a vacation judge, ordered Secondus to return to his position as PDP national chairman. Justice Umaru granted the interim order filed by 3 members of the party from the state. And of course, they prayed the court for an order of interim injunction staying the purported suspension of the first respondent, that is Secondus, pending the determination of the substantive suit. Well, Chibuzo, the whole thing is out there. It is not actually, the news is not actually a secret again. The High Court of Rivers State sacking Secondus, and the Kebbi High Court reinstating him. That kind of scenario. What do we make of this legal somersault?
Okay. Thank you very much. But for some of us, it was not surprising that we would have this kind of scenario. In fact, we can only hope that we don't get to see more legal jiu-jitsu play out between the interested parties. The last time we discussed this matter, we did hint at or project that we would see court cases beyond what Wike has, beyond what the River State court.
So you already complained that Wike was behind it.
Well, it was, when you see Rivers and you see a court order coming from a place like that, and you know that the person who has been spearheading a Secondus must go campaign, it's only likely that people will speculate that
Because when you put one plus one together, it's always two.
Yes. But that said, it's not surprising that Secondus had to get a court order had to come, to reinstate him into office. At this stage, it's more of an ego contest and the desire for Secondus not to leave the stage on a low. So he would do everything within the confines of the law to ensure that he's not rubbished out of office. That is on the one hand. Then on the other hand, one could only anticipate that whatever thing they do at this point, it does not ridicule the sanctity of the judiciary, because the way the back and forth, the ping pong now might not augur well for the image of the judiciary, like we said earlier. The PDP has been down this path before. The Sheriff McCarthy episode, where a plethora of cases equal jurisdiction of courts, turning out orders, judgments, interim orders, injunctions, and all of that. So we can only hope that they don't drag the judiciary into that scenario this time around. However, as for the party itself, new developments played out today. Despite his the court interim order reinstating him, he was still not allowed to preside over a caucus meeting today at the party secretariat. So I think that says a lot as to the dynamics of what is still playing out within the party. Don't forget, only yesterday, the board of trustees, the governors, and even the NWC endorsed the status of Elder Yemi Akinwumi as the acting chairman of the party. Now, whether or not Secondus' own court, the interim order came much after that is a different matter. But as of today, even though Secondus made a showing at the party secretariat, he was still prevailed upon not to, preside over the meeting. So I think it says a lot about the dynamics and the nature of the politics that is unfolding within the party. But whichever case, it's still early days yet to presume that all is settled and all is well.
Well, before we go into the
Yes.
division that this court judgment would have caused in the party, only let's look at the judicial implication here. The Rivers Court gave this order on grounds that the suit, the issue, the matter, the rest of the case, is something that took place in Rivers State. Then now, another court in Kebbi issuing another order of interim injunction in a matter that happened in Rivers State. Does the Kebbi court has such jurisdiction?
One would have expected that the next stage the case should go to should be the Court of Appeal. Like Chibuzo said, the Kebbi State, Kebbi Court and the Rivers Court are of the same. They have the same
Coordinate
jurisdiction,
Yeah.
and the judgment or order of Kebbi cannot override that of Rivers, since they have the same coordinate jurisdiction. But one thing I will say here is that before now, this is not the first time we'll be witnessing a situation like this, especially in the PDP, just as we are discussing now. It's not the first time. Before now, we have seen courts of coordinate jurisdiction issuing same order on same issue. And whenever things like this happen, I remember the CJN or the CJN will always warn. Sometimes there are judges that have been sanctioned for doing or for issuing this kind of order. But one thing I will say here is that I don't think this is good for the PDP ahead of the 2023 election. By now, they should be strategizing or strategizing on what to do to take over government from the APC. That's what I expected. But if they continue in this manner, I don't see them going anywhere in 2023. But back to the issue of the order, I don't think it is good for our judiciary. Though it is always said that even if an order is issued by a drunkard, it has to be obeyed. You have to obey it, then you can now come back and complain that this is inappropriate.
An order is issued by a drunkard?
Yes, you have to obey it.
Where? In the bar?
No, not in the bar. In the court. The point is that if the judge was drunk at the point of issuing that order, you still must obey it. Then you can now come back that, oh, my lord was drunk when he was issuing this order. So the Kebbi court must also be obeyed. they can now go back that the court has no jurisdiction to issue that order. So that is my take on that.
Well, Chibuzo, you've heard what Kunle has said.
Yeah.
Now, two courts of coordinate jurisdiction
Yes.
issuing an order and others that contradict themselves. Which of the order do you think is the party actually adhering to now?
I think it is part of the dilemma for which the party has to deal with. And I think one of the steps that we saw today,
Yes,
that played out at the course of the caucus meeting.
of course, we heard that Secondus was barred from presiding over the caucus meeting.
He was prevailed upon not to.
Was he able to enter the secretariat?
Yes, he had access to the
By the
secretariat.
way,
He had access to the party, to his office.
they didn't allow him to preside
Preside.
over them as the national
He
chairman.
had access to the office. He had access. He even had a meeting with the acting chairman, Elder Akinwumi. They had a meeting. There were talks about handing over from Akinwumi to him and all of that. But eventually, none of that played out in the way that would portray that Secondus is fully back in charge of the party, because he was not allowed to preside, not even attend, beyond presiding, not even to attend the meeting. So Akinwumi was the one who presided as the acting chairman of the party. Perhaps it is for the reasons of having two judgments, two court orders of coordinate jurisdiction that perhaps led to that decision. But however, when Tambuwa was asked as to whether, because he briefed, that's
After the
the
meeting.
governor, the chairman of the governors forum briefed after the meeting, after the caucus meeting, ahead of tomorrow's neck. When he was asked if the party is aware of
the order in Kebbi.
the Kebbi order, he said yes, that it was deliberated upon, but that they have not been formally served
With
that
the order. Okay.
So it was on that basis that he rationalized Secondus's
Staying away.
Yes, they are prevailing on him not to preside
Preside over the
over
caucus meeting.
But I think it's clear. The two court orders will be at the discretion of who has to obey which, But being that this is a political arrangement and that the process of dialogue and give and take are still ongoing, because the committee was set up, led by David Mark, former Senate President, to prevail on the parties. By parties now, I mean those who are already in
The two
court.
sides.
And the two sides in court, of course, are the Rivers people and the Kebbi people, to withdraw their court cases, as a measure towards making progress. So I'm sure the party, it can only be expected that the parties are aware of the dynamics of what is playing out, and that if they don't prevail on them to withdraw those cases, we might see an escalation of this situation. And there's no telling how far
Where
that
to
can
end,
go.
yeah.
Of course, they understand the import of that, having experienced it in 2016 with the Sheriff and Makarifi, and they are very conscious, I think, or I would assume that they will be conscious of the impact that we have, considering the short space of time
For the
parties
next
have
election.
before the next election. By February, parties should be getting ready to project who their candidates are going to look like, who the candidate of the party is going to look like. And so it is only expected that, whatever thing they have to do between now and that time has to be not just fast, but concrete and instructive, so that we can give them some posturing, and assure their supporters that, okay, they have things in order. But before now, many had expected that after the series of meetings that they had, about 2 weeks ago, when this whole drama started, that it wouldn't escalate to this point. But here we are now. It has left the stage of political dialogue into legal tussle, and when legal tussles get involved in political matters, we can only imagine how long it is going to take. We can see what is playing out in Abga. Abga has the last court judgment, the last appeal court ruling, as I had both sides jubilating and celebrating over its outcome. The other side, both sides claiming victory over the outcome of the ruling. So it's a dicey thing. It's a very dicey thing. But how the party will be able to pull the warring camps in and make them serious as to
why they should come together,
withdraw their cases first, on the one hand, get commitments that they're not going to go back again, will be very destructive. Because at this point, ego is involved. There's mutual suspicion on both sides.
no trust.
The question of trust is almost non-existent anymore. So how the party will be able to get them to really trust the process of reconciliation will be very, very key.
Well, you said it, and of course it is very clear. But only let's look at this issue. You see, on several occasions, the Supreme Court justices have always warned that a court of law is not a Father Christmas.
Yes.
That should be distributing ex parte injunctions, but interim orders, as if it's now cash and carry. What is happening now? I can assure you that it's Friday, but although the day is not fast spent yet, perhaps even on Monday you will see another order from.
It is not impossible.
Exactly.
It is not impossible that
In fact,
we have not seen the end of this crisis. Just as you have said, it is not the first time you see politicians getting orders from one court to the. In fact, they go as low as area courts. Yes, to get order, and because they know that once an order is issued, you have to obey it. You have to obey it. So, like you said, it is not like I'm saying, it is not the end. We will still in the coming week, in the coming days, orders will still fly around. But like Chibuzo said earlier, I think the way out for PDP at this point is to have a political solution to all this crisis, because time is not on their side. Before you know it, it's 2023 is almost here. It's almost here, and this is not the time to be going back and forth, looking at who will be the chairman, who will not be the chairman. And for me, I will even ask. October is. I'm aware that they fixed their convention for October.
Yes.
October is here. In my view, they should just allow Secondus to serve out his term. It's just about a month.
So, meanwhile, let's just quickly take a short break. But before we do that, we will want you, our viewer, to contribute to this program by way of sending in your comments. And of course, your comments had been very, very instrumental in shaping the agenda for the big issue. And of course, as we come back, we hope that most of you would have just sent us your comment, how you feel, your opinion, your view on the issue at stake. We'll be back very shortly.
The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.
Welcome back from that very short break where we just went to do some little commercial announcement. Well, it's still the big issue in Leadership Podcast. And of course, the big issue of the day is the return of Priest Uche Secoundus with a court order that has been stated him as national chairman of the party. We were talking about this issuing of court orders by the judiciary, the courts, issuing it as if it has now become one cheap commodity.
Yes.
And of course, don't forget that the Chief Justice of Nigeria has on several occasions warned against frivolous ex parte orders, such as these ones you see from the Kebbi court, the Rivers court. But it seems the CJN, anytime he warns judges about this, he seems to be talking like a dog that buys, that backs and cannot buy.
I disagree on that, because on a number of occasions, there has been judges that have been sanctioned for this kind of misconduct, because it is misconduct in the judiciary if a court had given an order and then same court of the coordinate jurisdiction given the same order on the same issue. I think it's a misconduct, and I want to expect or believe that in the coming days, in the coming week, the NJC will look at this and apply appropriate sanction. And another point I want to bring out here is that, sometimes, not all the time, sometimes, and I must also give it to some judges, they in a way stood their ground. They don't allow pressure from politicians to do this kind of things, this kind of what we witnessed yesterday in Kebbi. You will agree with me that in some cases, some of these judges, the politicians are instrumental to their becoming judges. So you will not expect that I will need something from you. Now, after assisting you, you will turn me down. Let me give you an example. We were in Supreme Court sometimes ago. A judge practically prostrated for a very senior lawyer, a very senior advocate, a very senior lawyer in the court. Practically. So we were now discussing among ourselves. We said, okay, if this judge can almost prostrate for this lawyer, what will this lawyer take before him that he will not get? I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. So this is the kind of situation some of these judges find themselves. Sometimes their hands are tied. They cannot but do the biddings of some of these politicians who are instrumental to their becoming judges.
Well, there's something I asked earlier, and it's like we've not really clarified on that. Rivers Court issuing an interim injunction. One could say yes, because the rest of the case is something that is within that jurisdiction.
In Rivers.
Rivers.
That is what I'm saying. I understand what you are saying.
For instance, what I'm trying to say in essence is that Secondus suspension happened in his ward in Rivers State. You understand?
I get what you are saying. That's why I said.
How can another court in Kebbi?
That's what I said. I said it earlier. I said it earlier. The Kebbi court doesn't have jurisdiction, but sometimes these judges will give this order. They will now tell. That's why you see in some cases the judge will not give an express order to, like in this case, say reinstate Secondus. Some judges will say, put the other side on notice, put them on notice, then fix a date for the two of them to come and address the court. When they address the court, it is then the court will know, after both sides have put up their arguments, it is then the court will know whether he has jurisdiction to hear the case or not.
No, but
in this case,
the
I know
order seems to be an order that is supposed to take effect. It's supposed to be immediate.
That's what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying now. That in some cases,
it's not just a mere pronouncement.
Hold on. In some cases, some judges will not issue such orders. They will rather tell the lawyer, put the other side on notice, let them come and address me on this matter. It is then the other side will tell the judge, you don't have jurisdiction over this matter. This matter happened in Rivers, and it is Rivers court that has jurisdiction over
How
it.
did they call that particular application? It was a preliminary objection.
Yes.
I think that.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yes.
But let me just clarify an issue.
Okay.
With regards to the suspension of Secondus, I don't think, as a national officer, and it is in their constitution, national officers cannot be suspended at the ward level. Whatever thing they have has to go up to the national. It's at the national that they get suspended. So the notion of Secondus being suspended at his ward and all of that does not hold water in the real, party constitution.
In other words, what you're trying to say is that even the court in Rivers was wrong.
Well,
if I may comment,
On the basis in which the Rivers court ordered Secondus not to parade himself as national chairman of the PDP is because of the suspension.
If I may
he was
comment,
suspended in his work.
if I may comment, Chibuzor, sorry, Chibuzor, if I may comment,
the party provides that for national officer. You remember the case of Babangida Ali. Babangida Ali is a NEC member and a BOT member. When they started issuing statements from the board that he has been suspended, the party at the national had to remind them that if they are conversant with the party constitution, people in that category, people that function at the national level, do not. The confusion is that people think the PDP constitution and that of the APC are the same. They are not the same. In the APC, such suspension can start from that level. At the PDP, all you can do is to issue a query and take it up that level. But it is only the national
that can issue suspension.
That is the procedure.
You see, this what you have just said now. Some of these things that happen and are taken to court. When you said, is it that the court is not aware? You see, they do some of these things and take these cases to court just to how do I put it now? It's not as if they don't know.
Exactly.
It's not as if they don't know that the court cannot deliberate on this matter. It's not as if they don't know that the court cannot decide this matter. But they feel, let us just use this one to destabilize him. That is the plan. That is what most of the time that's what they do, because they know by the time the cases are dragging, then they would have achieved their aims. So that is just
well, you see, the judiciary seems not to be helping the growth of democracy in Nigeria. With this, don't you think the courts are contributing to erode internal democracy within the party? For instance, now, see the point I'm trying to make only. Now, just like we said, because the last time we spoke on the court judgment in Rivers here, we said that we should not be surprised that Secondus will pass back with the court order. And this is exactly what just happened. And now we are even now projecting that Uche, or of course they say he's the mastermind of all this, the anti-Secondus campaigners will bounce back with another court order next week. So if this kind of a thing happens, maybe this one, Secondus bringing one.
That's what I said. I said it earlier.
If another court issues another,
I said it earlier.
Secondus, what now happens?
I said it earlier. I said at this point, I expect that the NJC should come in and hard on those judges too. And by the time you see NJC coming into the matter, you realize that the judges will sit up. There is nothing the politicians will do. There is nothing the politicians can tell the judges or the lawyers can tell the judges that will make them to continue to. Because for me, it is an embarrassment to the judiciary that the court on the same level are issuing different orders. No, it's an embarrassment. So that's why at this point, before it gets out of hand, I think the NJC needs to come in and do something very drastic about this whole situation.
Well, Chibuzo, we've just seen it, and of course, there are 2 orders now there before the party, and the judiciary has left the PDP with 2 choices to make: either to go by the court, the order of Kebbi Court, or to stay with the order of the Rivers Court. Someone who is actually close to that party, perhaps by way of duty. What do you think might be the party's decision as they go for next meeting tomorrow?
Well, I think the party has made its position. The outcome of today's caucus meeting was very clear. They deliberated on it, according to Governor Tambuwa, said they deliberated on it. They have not received.
Yes, he said they have not received.
Exactly. So, however, they set up a committee headed by the former Senate President, David Mark. At least he has earned his mark as a veteran, politician in that sense. He's known to be suave and skilled at engagements. So the burden now lies on that committee to ensure that they halt further legal actions, because it is very obvious if they don't come in with something that will be a sort of compromise that will be, accepted holistically by all of the camps, you can only be sure that this matter is going to escalate further. And so the burden now lies on the MAC committee to ensure that whatever thing they are bringing to the table, will be acceptable to both camps. Now, what are those things? Ego now appears to be at the center of what is playing out. Beyond, the schemings for, their political futures beyond ahead of 2023. Ego appears to be at the center of it as well, because we are having to deal with, a governor and the national chairman coming from the same state. So it's going to be for some, it might just be beyond, the schemings, but about I will show you who's boss. That kind of tussle. So it's a dicey situation as it were, because when ego is involved, a lot of sentiments begin to play out. So it will require a lot of negotiating skill on the part of David Mark and his team to ensure that these 2 key figures get to sit in the round table and agree not to take this matter further. But this is not the first time we are having that. We've had series of committees, reconciliation committees intervene in this. We've also seen the governor of Benue at some point having both of them come to him, Benue, and at the end of the day, we still got to where we are. So the task will be really heavy for the David Mark team, because if it doesn't get it right, if they don't appeal to them to withdraw their cases, or even if they do, and whatever agreements are reached are not adhered to, you can be sure that this is going to be a big span in the works, and it's going to ensure that PDP gets a big leading before 2023 elections.
Well, all right. Viewer, this is the much we can take for today's edition of the Big Issue. And of course, as the events keep unfolding, let's see how it goes. Tomorrow is PDP National Executive Council meeting. And of course, I know that a lot will happen there to actually define the way forward. But as the courts keeps throwing spanners in the works of the opposition party with interim orders, it is left for the party to put its act together. And of course, the events in the coming days will determine the fate of the party ahead of 2023. Thank you for joining us. And Of course, it has been a very wonderful time with our in-house analysts here, doing the what is actually needed to actually get you informed of the big issue of the day. Join us same time next week for on Monday specifically for another edition of this program. Do have a wonderful weekend.
The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.